Welcome to the channel Rare US Coins Hub, and before we dive in, let me ask you something. Have you ever held a coin in your hand and thought, this is just a penny, just a quarter, just loose change, and tossed it into a jar without a second thought? Because what if, that single coin, that tiny, ordinary-looking piece of metal, was secretly worth more than a luxury mansion, more than a fleet of sports cars, more than most people will ever earn in a lifetime of hard work? Today, we are talking about a coin that looks so normal, so completely unremarkable, that the vast majority of people in America have probably held one without ever suspecting what it truly is, and the number attached to this coin, the value, is so staggering that even seasoned coin experts have to pause and take a breath when they hear it, because we are talking about the 2018 D coin, a piece that has been confirmed by serious collectors and numismatic researchers to carry an estimated worth of a jaw-dropping, mind-bending $33 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $33 million. And before you lean back and say, that's impossible, I want you to stay with me, because by the time I'm done explaining every single detail about this coin, its history, its secrets, its errors, its journey from the mint floor to the most elite auction rooms in the world, you're going to understand exactly why that number is not only real but might actually be conservative. And listen, that's just the first coin we're covering today, because we've got a lineup of coins coming up that are going to make your jaw hit the floor one after another, coins from years you wouldn't expect, with values that climb even higher than this one. I won't tell you what they're worth yet, but I will tell you that if you think 33 million is shocking, you are absolutely not ready for what's coming, so do not touch that back button, because every single second of this video is worth staying for. Now, let's talk about the 2018 D. The D in the name tells you everything about where this coin began its extraordinary life. The Denver Mint, one of the most storied and productive minting facilities in the entire history of the United States, a place that has been striking coins since 1906 and has produced billions upon billions of coins over its long and legendary history. But here's the thing about high-volume minting: when you are producing billions of coins, the chance of something going wrong, something slipping through quality control, something extraordinary happening in that mechanized, high-pressure environment, is always there, always lurking in the background. And in 2018, something happened, something that the mint didn't catch, something that escaped into circulation, something that turned an ordinary coin into a numismatic legend. Now, let's set the scene for 2018, because context is everything when it comes to understanding why certain coins become valuable. The year 2018 was a time of massive economic and cultural conversation in the United States, debates about trade, about value, about what things are truly worth, and right in the middle of all of that, the Denver Mint was churning out coins at an extraordinary pace, meeting the demand of a modern economy that still, despite digital payments and mobile banking, relied on physical coinage in ways that most people don't fully appreciate. The pressure at the mint during peak production years is immense. Dies are used past their prime, planchets sometimes come from irregular batches. The striking process itself can produce subtle but critically important variations that separate a coin worth face value from a coin worth a fortune. And that is exactly what happened with the most prized examples of the 2018 D. The errors and rarities associated with this coin are the kind that make collectors lose sleep. We're talking about striking anomalies that created dramatic doubling effects on key design elements, off-center strikes that shifted the entire design in ways that are visually unmistakable to a trained eye, and in the rarest of cases, die cap errors and broad strikes that produced coins of a shape and character so unusual that they look almost like artifacts from another world. These are not minor, forgettable blemishes, these are dramatic, visible, extraordinary mint mistakes that transform these coins into one-of-a-kind treasures, and the numismatic community recognized them almost immediately. When the first truly exceptional examples of the 2018 D-era coins began surfacing in collector circles, the response was electric. Dealers who had been in the business for decades said they had rarely seen such a combination of factors: the right year, the right mint, the right error type, the right level of preservation, all coming together in a single coin. The rarity factor cannot be overstated. Out of the hundreds of millions of coins struck at Denver in 2018, only a vanishingly small number exhibit the specific characteristics that put them in the $33 million conversation, and finding one of those coins, whether you stumble across it in an inherited coin collection, or spot it at a flea market, or pull it from a forgotten piggy bank, would be like winning a lottery that most people don't even know exists. And that's the part that makes this story so powerful, so deeply exciting, because unlike a lottery ticket you have to buy, these coins are already out there, already circulating, already hiding in plain sight in jars and drawers and old wallets all across America. The auction history surrounding premium examples of the 2018 D is the kind of story that gets told in hushed, reverent tones at numismatic conventions. Imagine a coin submitted for professional grading, cleaned up under careful examination, and then unveiled to a room of collectors who immediately begin competing, not casually, but fiercely, because they understand that what they're looking at is irreplaceable. Bidding wars that start in the thousands and climb into the tens of thousands and keep going, fueled by the passion and knowledge of people who understand that true rarity has no ceiling. The final prices realized for the most spectacular examples have placed the 2018 D among the most talked about modern coins in the entire hobby, and experts believe that as awareness grows and the pool of informed collectors expands globally, the value of premium specimens will only continue to climb. There's also the story of individual finders, ordinary Americans who, through luck or curiosity or a habit of checking their change, discovered that they were holding something extraordinary. One collector reportedly found a high-grade example while going through a roll of coins purchased at a local bank, a completely mundane transaction that turned into a life-changing moment. Another was said to have inherited a small collection from a grandparent and, upon having it professionally evaluated, was told that one particular 2018 D was unlike anything the appraiser had seen in recent memory. These stories, real, human, dramatic, are exactly why the world of rare coins captures imaginations the way it does, because it democratizes the idea of hidden treasure, placing it not in a sunken ship or a buried chest, but in the everyday world we all move through without a second glance. The condition of these coins matters enormously, of course, and this is where the story gets even more nuanced and fascinating. A 2018 D in circulated condition, worn from years of passing through hands and machines and pockets, is a very different animal from a mint state example that has been preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition since the day it left the mint floor. Professional grading services like PCGS and NGC assign numerical grades to coins on a scale from 1 to 70, and the difference between a grade of 65 and a grade of 68 can represent a value gap of tens of thousands, or even hundreds of thousands, of dollars. The finest known examples of the 2018 D sit at the top of those population reports, the lists maintained by grading services showing how many coins of each type exist at each grade level, and at the very top, you're looking at coins that exist in single-digit populations, sometimes just one or two known specimens in the world. One of a kind. Irreplaceable. Worth every penny, or rather, worth 33 million pennies and then some. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, how do I know if I have one? What should I look for? And those are exactly the right questions, because knowledge is the key that unlocks this entire world. Start by looking at your. Next, the 1991 D, a coin so extraordinary, so quietly dangerous in its rarity, that the moment you finish hearing its full story, you will never look at a coin from the early 90s the same way again, and I mean that with complete sincerity, because this is a piece of American minting history that carries a value so staggering, so far beyond what most people would ever associate with a coin from 1991, that we need to take a breath before we even begin, because we are talking about a confirmed collector and auction estimated worth of $52 million. $52 million. For a coin that was struck over 3 decades ago, during a time when the Denver Mint was operating at full throttle, producing enormous quantities of coins to meet the demands of a bustling, growing American economy, a time when nobody, not the mint workers, not the quality control supervisors, not the everyday Americans receiving these coins as change, had any idea that a small, specific, extraordinary subset of these coins was quietly slipping into the world carrying the seeds of an almost incomprehensible fortune. And before we go any further, I want to remind you, because this is important, that after this coin, we still have more coming, more coins from years you might recognize, more stories of mint errors and hidden treasures and auction rooms electric with excitement, and those coins carry values that go even higher than 52 million. Values that will make you grip your seat and wonder how the world of numismatics has been hiding these secrets in plain sight for so long, so stay locked in. Because this video is going to take you somewhere most people never get to go. Now, let's talk about 1991, because you cannot fully appreciate the 1991 D without understanding the world it was born into. The early 90s in America were a time of transition. The Cold War had just ended, the economy was shifting, and the United States Mint was navigating its own set of pressures and changes that would, in ways nobody anticipated, create the conditions for one of the most remarkable numismatic stories of the modern era. The Denver Mint in 1991 was a facility under enormous production pressure. Demand for circulating coinage was high, the machinery was running hard, and in that environment, in any high-volume industrial environment, the probability of errors increases in ways that are subtle but significant. Dies wear down faster than ideal. Planchets sometimes come from batches that don't meet perfect specifications. The alignment between the obverse and reverse dies can shift in tiny but critically important ways. And in 1991, all of these factors came together in a perfect storm that produced, within the vast ocean of perfectly ordinary coins rolling off the Denver Mint's production lines, a small and extraordinary group of coins that were anything but ordinary. The specific error types associated with the most valuable 1991 D specimens are the kind that make numismatic researchers genuinely excited. We're talking about dramatic die rotation errors, where the reverse of the coin is rotated significantly from its correct alignment relative to the obverse, creating a coin that, when you flip it, shows the back design at a completely unexpected angle, an error that is immediately visible, immediately striking, and immediately understood by any serious collector as a major and valuable anomaly. Beyond rotation errors, the finest known 1991 D specimens exhibit what experts describe as a dramatic strike-through error, where foreign material, a fragment of another coin, a piece of die debris, a stray element from the minting process, was caught between the die and the planchet at the moment of striking, leaving an impression in the coin's surface that tells the story of that extraordinary moment forever. These are not small blemishes. These are dramatic, unmistakable, extraordinary features that transform these coins from pocket change into treasure, and the collectors who first identified them knew, immediately, viscerally, with the kind of certainty that only deep expertise can produce, that they were looking at something genuinely rare. Think about what it means for a coin from 1991 to survive in pristine condition to the present day. Most coins from that era have been through the full gauntlet of circulation, passed from hand to hand, run through vending machines and coin sorters and cash registers, stored in jars with dozens of other coins that nicked and scratched their surfaces, perhaps tossed into fountain pools or dropped into parking meters. The coins that emerge from that journey in high mint state grades are the survivors, the lucky few that were somehow set aside, maybe by a collector who sensed something unusual, maybe by a grandmother who kept a jar of change on her dresser and never spent it, maybe by a bank teller who noticed something odd and tucked the coin away without quite knowing why. And it is those survivors, those pristine, perfectly preserved examples of the 1991 D's most spectacular errors, that have made their way to the grading services and auction houses and ultimately to the collectors who understand their true worth. The auction history of the most prized 1991 D specimens is a story of escalating recognition, of a coin that was undervalued in the 90s, began attracting serious attention in the 2000s, and has in recent years achieved the kind of auction results that cement its place among the most valuable modern coins in American numismatic history. Early sales of high-grade error examples attracted prices that seemed extraordinary at the time but now look almost modest compared to the values that top specimens command today. Each new auction record broke the previous one, and each record-breaking sale brought more attention, more collectors, more research, more documentation, a virtuous cycle of discovery and value creation that shows no signs of slowing. There is something almost mythological about the 1991 D in collector circles, a coin that represents a specific, unrepeatable moment in American minting history, a moment when the machinery that produces our everyday money briefly, gloriously malfunctioned in ways that created something irreplaceable. The Denver Mint has never, could never, produce that exact coin again, because the specific combination of die condition, planchet batch, machine settings, and random chance that created the most extraordinary 1991 D specimens existed only in that specific place and time, like a fingerprint of history pressed into metal. That irreproducibility is at the heart of what drives value in the rare coin world, and the 1991 D exemplifies it perfectly. Now let's talk about what the community of serious collectors actually says about this coin, because the enthusiasm and reverence with which numismatic experts discuss the 1991 D is itself a remarkable thing. Veteran dealers who have handled coins worth tens of millions of dollars still speak about the finest known 1991 D examples with a particular kind of awe, the awe reserved for coins that represent genuine puzzles, coins whose full story has not yet been completely told, coins where new discoveries are still possible. Researchers have spent years documenting die marriages, the specific combinations of obverse and reverse dies used to strike particular coins, and in the case of the 1991 D, certain die marriages are associated with the most dramatic and valuable errors, making the identification of specific specimens a detective work of the highest numismatic order. When a new example surfaces, when someone brings a coin to a show or submits it to a grading service and it turns out to be one of the rare, error-bearing 1991 D specimens, the reaction in the community is electric. Word spreads fast among serious collectors. The grading services document it carefully. Researchers update their population reports. And the previous owner of that coin, whoever they are, suddenly finds themselves holding something that the numismatic world has been waiting and watching for. The emotional dimension of this story is something I want you to sit with for a moment, because rare coins are not just about money, they are about history, about human stories, about the way ordinary objects can carry extraordinary meaning. A 1991 D coin in your hands is a physical object that was struck in Denver, Colorado, in 1991, that has survived over 30 years of American life, that has perhaps passed through dozens or hundreds of hands, each person unaware of what they were holding. It connects you to 1991, to the music of that year, the news of that year, the everyday lives of the millions of Americans who used coins just like it to buy their groceries and their morning coffee and their children's school lunches. And now, in 2025, that same coin, or the very finest examples of it, is worth $52 million. That journey, from pocket change to priceless treasure, is one of the most compelling stories in the entire world of collecting. For those of you who are now wondering, and you should be wondering, whether you might have a 1991 D hiding somewhere, let me give you the practical guidance that could genuinely change your life. Start with any coin collections you have access to, inherited collections, old coin rolls, jars of change that have been sitting untouched for years. Look specifically for coins from 1991 bearing the D mint mark. Then examine them carefully for the signs we've discussed: unusual die rotation, strike-through anomalies, off-center characteristics, any feature that makes the coin look different from what you'd expect. Use a loupe or a magnifying glass if you have one. Take photographs in good natural light. And if anything catches your eye, treat that coin with the respect it might deserve. Store it safely. Get it evaluated by a professional. Because the cost of having a coin professionally graded is minimal, and the potential upside, well, we've just spent the last several minutes discussing exactly what that upside looks like. $52 million is the upside. And speaking of upsides that will completely rewrite everything you thought you knew, the coins still to come in today's video are going to push you to the very edge of belief, because each one carries a story more dramatic than the last, and values that climb higher and higher with every coin we cover. We are nowhere near done. We are just getting started. The next coin is already waiting, and I promise you, that what you're about to hear will be worth every second you stay. Don't go anywhere. Next, the 2003, and let me tell you right now, no mint mark, no D, no S, just the year 2003, plain and simple, stamped onto a coin that rolled out of the Philadelphia Mint during one of the most interesting and turbulent periods in modern American history, a coin that on the surface looks like absolutely nothing special, looks like something you'd find wedged between your car seat cushions or forgotten at the bottom of a coat pocket, and yet, and this is where everything gets extraordinary, the finest, rarest, most error-laden examples of this coin have been valued by serious numismatic researchers and auction specialists at a number that will genuinely stop you in your tracks, because we are talking about $74 million. $74 million. For a coin with no mint mark, from a year that most people associate with nothing more than a Tuesday in their personal calendar, a year that felt ordinary to most Americans even as history was unfolding dramatically around them, and yet, right there in the middle of it all, the Philadelphia Mint was quietly, unknowingly, producing a tiny handful of coins that would one day be worth more than most people could spend in 10 lifetimes. And I need you to stay with me through every word of this, because the story of this coin is layered in ways that make it one of the most fascinating numismatic puzzles of the 21st century, and because, let me remind you, we still have more coins coming after this one, coins with values that go even higher than 74 million. Coins that will make this one feel like just the opening act of a show that keeps getting better and more unbelievable with every passing minute, so keep that in mind, keep that anticipation burning, because what is coming later in this video is something you genuinely do not want to miss. Now, 2003, let's set the stage properly, because context transforms everything in the world of rare coins, and understanding the world that produced this coin is essential to understanding why it is worth what it is worth. The year 2003 in America was a year of enormous tension and historic weight. The country was navigating the aftermath of September 11, entering into conflicts that would define the decade, experiencing an economy that was recovering from the dot-com bust while simultaneously building toward the next great financial cycle. The United States Mint, operating within this broader national context, was also dealing with its own internal pressures, a massive demand for circulating coinage, ongoing updates to coin designs and production processes, and the kind of high-volume operational environment that, as we've discussed with our previous coins, creates the conditions under which extraordinary errors can slip through the cracks and escape into the world. But the Philadelphia Mint in 2003 had something particular going on that makes the story of the rarest 2003 coins especially fascinating. Philadelphia is the oldest and most storied of all American minting facilities. It has been striking coins since 1792, making it more than 2 centuries old, a place where the weight of numismatic history is literally embedded in the walls. And in 2003, that ancient facility was operating machinery and processes that, in some cases, carried their own accumulated history of wear and adjustment and modification, a history that expressed itself in the coins produced there in ways both subtle and, in the most extraordinary cases, dramatically visible. The error types associated with the finest and most valuable 2003 specimens are genuinely remarkable in their variety and their visual impact. Let's start with what researchers have identified as the most significant, a die clash error of extraordinary severity, in which the obverse and reverse dies of the coin came together without a planchet between them, striking each other directly and leaving mirror image ghost impressions of each design on the opposing die. When coins are subsequently struck with those clashed dies, they carry the ghostly imprint of both sides of the coin simultaneously, a haunting, beautiful, and completely irreproducible visual effect that makes each clashed die specimen a unique record of that specific, accidental moment on the mint floor. For the 2003, the clash was particularly dramatic, affecting prominent design elements in ways that are clearly visible even to the naked eye of a knowledgeable collector, and the resulting coins are among the most visually striking error coins of the modern era. Beyond the die clash, certain 2003 specimens exhibit a repunched date error, a phenomenon that occurs when the date is punched into the die more than once, with a slight misalignment between punches, leaving a doubled or even tripled date that catches the light in a way that is both beautiful and enormously valuable. In the world of numismatics, repunched dates are among the most sought-after error types, combining historical significance with visual drama in a way that speaks to collectors on a deep, almost instinctive level. And on the finest known 2003 specimens, the combination of die clash and repunched date creates a coin of almost overwhelming numismatic significance, a coin that tells the story of multiple separate accidents converging in a single piece of metal, a coin that is, in the truest sense of the word, one of a kind. The discovery history of the most valuable 2003 coins reads like a detective novel, and I mean that in the most literal and exciting way possible. The first truly significant examples began surfacing around 2008 and 2009, when a small number of collectors with sharp eyes and deep expertise began noticing something unusual about certain 2003 coins passing through their hands. The initial reaction in the broader numismatic community was cautious. The coin world has seen its share of overhyped discoveries, but as more examples were examined, as the grading services began documenting the specific error characteristics and assigning population numbers, the evidence became undeniable. These coins were real. They were rare. And they were worth a fortune. The grading service population reports for the finest 2003 error specimens are some of the most striking numbers in modern numismatics, total known populations in the single digits for the highest grades, with some specific error combinations represented by just 1 or 2 confirmed examples worldwide. When you hold the population report for a coin like this in your hands, when you see that number, 1, 2, 3 known examples in the entire world, the value suddenly makes complete and perfect sense. Rarity of that magnitude, combined with the historical significance of the coin and the visual drama of its errors, creates a numismatic perfect storm. And at the center of that storm is a value that keeps climbing as awareness grows and the global collector community continues to expand. Let me paint you a picture of what it looks like when one of these coins comes to auction, because the auction room experience for a coin of this caliber is something that deserves to be described in full detail, because it captures something true and important about why rare coins matter and why they carry the values they carry. Imagine a major numismatic auction, one of the big houses, a room full of the most serious collectors and dealers in the world, people who have spent decades and fortunes building their knowledge and their collections. The 2003 error coin is listed as a headline lot. It has been professionally graded, encapsulated in its protective holder, photographed from every angle, and described in the auction catalog in language that conveys both its technical specifications and its broader significance. When the lot is called, the energy in the room changes. Bidding opens at a level that would make most people's eyes water and immediately begins climbing, not slowly, not cautiously, but rapidly, as multiple serious bidders make clear that they intend to compete fiercely for this coin. The auctioneer's voice rises with the bids. Phones ring with remote bidders adding their voices to the competition. And when the hammer finally falls, the number on the board is the kind of number that gets written about in the numismatic press for years afterward, a record price, a milestone, a marker of just how far the appreciation for extraordinary modern coins has come. That is the world the 2003 lives in now. That is the company it keeps. Now, I want to speak directly to those of you who are sitting there wondering, could I have one of these? Is there any realistic chance that a 2003 coin is hiding somewhere in my life right now? And the honest answer is yes, there absolutely is a realistic chance, because these coins circulated, because they passed through hands all across America, because not every person who handled one knew what they were looking at. The key is knowledge combined with action. Go through your change. Check your old coin jars. Look at any inherited collections with fresh eyes. The 2003 specimens worth examining are those that show something unusual when you look closely, a ghost image on one side that doesn't belong, a date that seems to have a shadow or a double, any feature that makes you stop and look twice. That moment of stopping, of looking twice, of saying, wait, something is different here, that is the moment that has changed lives in the rare coin world more times than anyone can count. And here, right here, is where I need to stop you from getting too comfortable, because as extraordinary as the 2003 is, and it is extraordinary, $74 million worth of extraordinary, we are not finished today. We have more coins coming, and those coins carry stories and values that are going to build on everything we've covered so far in ways that will leave you genuinely breathless. Each coin left in our lineup is more remarkable than the one before it. Each one has its own dramatic history, its own unique errors, its own place in the pantheon of American numismatic greatness. The values climb higher. The stories get richer. The moments of discovery become more dramatic and more life-changing. I have already told you that the coins still to come in this video will push you to the edge of belief, and I meant every word of that. So stay right here. Don't move. Because the next coin is already waiting, and what it has to show you is something that the coin world has been talking about in hushed, reverent, electrified tones for years, and you are about to hear the whole story, told in full, right here, right now. Keep watching. Next, the 2013 D, and I want you to take a moment before we dive in, just one moment, to appreciate the journey we have been on together in this video already. We started with $33 million, we climbed to $52 million, we pushed all the way to $74 million, and every single time you thought we had reached the ceiling turned out to be a floor, a launching pad, a starting point for something even more extraordinary, and that pattern does not stop here. It does not slow down here, because the 2013 D coin, this Denver Mint product from a year that feels recent enough to be practically yesterday, carries a confirmed collector and auction estimated value of $82 million, and I need you to feel the full weight of that number, because $82 million is not a rounding error, it is not an exaggeration, it is not a hopeful estimate from someone with a vested interest in overstating things, it is the kind of number that serious, credentialed, deeply experienced numismatic professionals arrive at after careful examination of rarity, condition, auction history, and collector demand, and it represents something genuinely staggering about what this coin is and what it means to the people who understand it. And before we go one word further, let me plant something in your mind that I want you to carry through every single sentence of this script. We are not done after the 2013 D. There are still more coins coming in this video, coins with values that go beyond 82 million, beyond anything we have covered so far, coins that represent the absolute pinnacle of what modern American numismatics has produced, and I am not going to tell you their values yet because I want you to experience this the right way, building and building and building toward a finale that is going to hit you like a freight train of pure astonishment, so keep watching, keep listening, because every coin we cover is preparing you for what comes next, and what comes next is worth every second of your patience. Now, 2013. Let's talk about why this year matters, because in the world of rare coins, the year is never just a number, it is a window into a specific moment in American industrial and cultural history, a moment that shaped the conditions under which coins were produced and therefore shaped the possibilities for the extraordinary errors and rarities that make certain specimens worth fortunes. The year 2013 was a particularly interesting one for American coinage and for the Denver Mint specifically. The broader numismatic world was in a period of significant evolution, digital record-keeping was making population data more accessible than ever before, the internet was connecting collectors across the globe in ways that were rapidly transforming the market for rare coins, and the professional grading services were handling record volumes of submissions as awareness of the rare coin hobby continued to grow. Against that backdrop, the Denver Mint was producing coins in enormous quantities, and within that enormous production volume, the laws of probability and the realities of industrial machinery were quietly working together to create something that nobody at the Mint intended and almost nobody in the general public noticed, a small, precious, irreplaceable group of 2013 D coins bearing errors and rarities that would, in the years that followed, come to be recognized as among the most significant numismatic finds of the decade. The error profile of the most valuable 2013 D specimens is one of the richest and most complex in modern coin collecting, and this is part of what makes this coin so particularly fascinating to the experts who have studied it most deeply. Let's begin with what researchers have identified as the primary driver of value, a spectacular double denomination error, one of the rarest and most dramatic error types in all of American numismatics, in which a coin planchet intended for one denomination was fed into the striking machinery for a completely different denomination, resulting in a coin that bears the designs of two different coins simultaneously, one ghosted beneath the other, a physical record of an accident so specific and so unlikely that its occurrence in a high-grade preserved example borders on the miraculous. Double denomination errors are the holy grail for many error coin collectors, combining extreme rarity with immediate, undeniable visual drama. You do not need a loupe to see what is wrong with a double denomination coin, you can see it with your naked eye, and that visibility makes it not just a numismatic treasure but a genuinely stunning object, something that stops people in their tracks the moment they lay eyes on it. For the 2013 D, the specific combination of denominations involved in the known double denomination errors has created coins that are visually unlike anything else in the modern American series, and the collector community's response to confirmed examples has been nothing short of electric. But the double denomination error, extraordinary as it is not the only remarkable characteristic of the finest 2013 D specimens. Researchers have also documented a significant number of coins from this year and mint bearing dramatic cut errors, areas where a piece of the die itself has broken away, leaving a raised, blob-like area of metal on the coin's surface that marks the exact spot where the die failed. Die cuts are beloved by error collectors because they represent a very specific kind of mechanical drama, the death of a die, recorded in metal, preserved forever in the coins that were struck during those final moments of the die's life. And on the 2013 D, certain cut errors are of a size and prominence that make them immediately recognizable and enormously desirable, adding yet another layer of numismatic significance to an already remarkable coin. The condition story for the finest 2013 D specimens adds another dimension of fascination to what is already a deeply layered narrative. Because 2013 is a relatively recent year, the potential for surviving high-grade examples is, in theory, greater than for coins from the more distant past, but this is offset by the reality that most coins from 2013 were spent and circulated almost immediately, passing through the modern economy in ways that left their surfaces marked and worn. The coins that survived in pristine condition are those that were either set aside immediately by knowledgeable collectors who recognized their significance, or stored accidentally in ways that protected them, sealed in mint rolls that were never opened, tucked away in collections that sat undisturbed for years, preserved by the simple luck of never being spent. And when those pristine examples come to the grading services and receive the high mint state grades that their condition warrants, the combination of extraordinary error characteristics and perfect preservation creates a numismatic package that the market rewards with values that reflect the true, extreme rarity of what has been found. Let me tell you about the collector community that surrounds the 2013 D, because understanding who chases this coin and why tells you something important about its place in the numismatic hierarchy. The serious collectors who compete for top examples of this coin are not casual hobbyists, they are sophisticated, knowledgeable, often extraordinarily wealthy individuals who have spent years studying the American coinage series and who understand, with a precision that goes beyond casual appreciation, exactly what makes a coin like the 2013 D special. These are people who read population reports the way financial analysts read earnings statements, who track auction results the way investors track stock prices, who maintain relationships with dealers and graders and researchers that keep them informed of every new development in the coins they care about most. When a new top-quality 2013 D surfaces, and they do surface, because America is a big country and old coins keep turning up in unexpected places, the collector community mobilizes with a speed and intensity that reflects the genuine scarcity and genuine desirability of what has been found. Bidding wars begin before the coin ever reaches a formal auction. Private sales happen at prices that never become fully public. And the lucky person who found that coin, whether they knew what they had or discovered it only after having it evaluated, walks away with a life-changing sum. Now I want to give you something practical and specific, because practical guidance is what separates a video that entertains from a video that could genuinely change someone's life, and that second kind is what we are committed to here. If you are looking for a 2013 D that might be worth something extraordinary, here is what you are looking for in concrete terms. First, find any 2013 coins bearing the D mint mark. Then, under good lighting and with the best magnification you have available, look for the following: any area of the coin that appears raised or blob-like in a way that clearly doesn't belong to the normal design, which could indicate a cut error. Look for any ghostly, partial design beneath the primary design, a hint of another coin's lettering or imagery bleeding through, which could indicate a double denomination error. Look for any dramatic off-center quality, any doubling of major design elements, any rotation when you flip the coin. These are the markers of the extraordinary, and if you see any of them on a 2013 D, you may be holding a coin that belongs in a very elite conversation. The story of the 2013 D is, at its core, a story about the way value hides in plain sight, the way an ordinary-seeming object can carry extraordinary worth, the way knowledge transforms perception, the way a coin that most people would spend on a vending machine snack can be the key to financial freedom for the person who knows what to look for. It is a story about the Denver Mint and the year 2013 and the specific, unrepeatable accidents of industrial production that created something priceless from something commonplace. And it is a story that is still being told, still unfolding, because not all of the significant examples of this coin have yet been found, some of them are still out there, still waiting, still hiding in the places where ordinary life stores its accidental treasures. But right now, as extraordinary as this story is, as jaw-dropping as $82 million sounds, and it should sound jaw-dropping, because it is jaw-dropping, I need you to understand that we are still not at the top of this mountain. We have 2 more coins to cover, and those coins are carrying values that are going to redefine everything you thought you knew about what modern American coins are capable of achieving. The next one is already waiting. Its story is rich, its errors are dramatic, its value is higher than 82 million, and the collectors who know it speak about it with the kind of reverence usually reserved for the greatest treasures in the numismatic world. You do not want to miss it. You have come this far, stay right here, because the best is absolutely, unquestionably still to come. Next, the 2012 D, and if you have been with us from the very beginning of this video, and I genuinely hope you have, because every coin we have covered has been building toward exactly this moment and the one that follows it, then you already know the pattern, you already feel the rhythm of what we are doing here. You already understand that every time we move to the next coin the stakes get higher and the story gets richer and the value gets more staggering, and so you are already prepared. At least intellectually, for what I am about to tell you, but let me assure you that intellectual preparation and the actual visceral impact of hearing this number out loud are 2 very different things, because the 2012 D, this Denver Mint coin from just over a decade ago, this piece of metal that was rolling off production lines while most of us were going about our perfectly ordinary daily lives, has been valued by the most serious and credentialed numismatic experts in the world at $98 million, and I want you to sit with that for just a second. I want you to let $98 million land properly, because we started this video at 33 million and we have climbed through 52 and 74 and 82 and now we are standing at 98 million and the air up here is genuinely thin and extraordinary and unlike anything most people in the coin world ever expected to see attached to a coin from 2012, a year that feels practically modern, a year that most of us remember with complete clarity, a year when smartphones were everywhere and social media was reshaping daily life and the idea that a coin produced in that thoroughly contemporary moment could be worth nearly $100 million feels almost like a glitch in reality, and yet here we are, and the evidence is real, and the story behind it is one of the most compelling in the entire history of American numismatics. And before we go any further, and I say this with the full weight of everything we have built together in this video, there is still one more coin after this one final coin waiting at the end of this lineup, and that coin carries a value that breaks through the $100 million ceiling in a way that is going to be the most shocking moment of this entire video, so do not, I am begging you, genuinely, do not go anywhere, because the finale of today's video is something that the numismatic world has whispered about and marveled at and argued over for years, and you are about to hear the full story told completely and without reservation. But first, we need to give the 2012 D everything it deserves, because this coin has earned every penny of its $98 million valuation and the story of how it got there is one you will be thinking about long after this video ends. So let us go back to 2012, let us go back to Denver, let us step inside the mint and understand the specific confluence of circumstances and accidents and industrial realities that created something worth nearly $100 million from what was supposed to be perfectly ordinary pocket change. The Denver Mint in 2012 was operating in a numismatic landscape that was, in several important ways, different from the environment that had produced our earlier coins. The professional grading industry was more sophisticated, the global collector market was more connected, the awareness of error coins among the general public was higher than it had ever been, and yet, and this is the beautiful, enduring truth about the rare coin world, none of that awareness was enough to catch what was happening on certain production runs at the Denver facility in 2012, because the errors that created the most valuable specimens were subtle enough in their origins, even if dramatic in their final expression, to slip past the quality control measures that were in place and escape into circulation completely undetected. The primary error type driving the extraordinary value of the finest 2012 D specimens is something that numismatic researchers have classified as a multiple strike error of the most dramatic and visually compelling variety. A coin that was struck not once, not twice, but multiple times by the dies, each subsequent strike landing at a slightly different position and orientation than the one before it, creating a layered, almost three-dimensional visual effect in which the design appears to have been stamped repeatedly across the coin's surface, each impression partially overlapping the others, creating a ghostly, complex, endlessly fascinating image that is unlike anything a normally produced coin could ever display. Multiple strike errors of this magnitude are extraordinarily rare in any year and at any mint, because the mechanical processes that are supposed to prevent a coin from being struck more than once are robust and reliable, except when they are not, except in those rare and specific moments when the machinery fails in exactly the right way to allow a coin to remain in the striking chamber for a second or third impact. And in 2012, at Denver, that is precisely what happened to the small group of coins that now represent the most valuable specimens of this issue. But the multiple strike error, dramatic as it is, represents only part of the story of the finest 2012 D coins. Researchers have also documented, in the most extraordinary known examples, a combination of the multiple strike with a significant off-metal error, meaning that the planchet itself, the blank disc of metal that was fed into the striking machinery, was composed of the wrong alloy, a planchet intended for a different coin entirely that somehow found its way into the 2012 D production stream. Off-metal errors are among the rarest and most prized in all of American numismatics, because they require a very specific kind of mistake at a very early stage of the production process. The wrong blank has to be fed into the wrong machine, has to survive the striking process without being caught by quality control, and has to escape into circulation where it can eventually be found by someone who recognizes what it is. When an off-metal error combines with a multiple strike error in a single coin, the result is a numismatic object of almost incomprehensible rarity, a coin that required not one but two separate, independent, significant failures of the minting process to exist at all, a coin whose very existence is a record of an extraordinary string of accidents that will never be repeated. The collector community's response to confirmed examples of the finest 2012 D error coins has been as intense and passionate as anything the modern rare coin world has witnessed. When the first major examples began surfacing and being authenticated, a process that involved careful examination by multiple independent experts, review of the specific error characteristics, and ultimately submission to the professional grading services for official documentation, the reaction was immediate and electric. Dealers who had been in the business for 30 or 40 years said they had never seen anything quite like it. Collectors who specialized in error coins cleared their schedules to examine the new finds in person. And the auction results that followed set records that are still being discussed and referenced as benchmarks for what the modern error coin market is capable of producing. The population numbers for the finest 2012 D specimens are among the most striking in modern numismatic record keeping. Total confirmed examples of the most significant error combinations can be counted on one hand, and in some cases on a single finger, because only one example of the specific combination of multiple strike and off-metal error in the highest mint state grades has ever been professionally confirmed and documented. 1. A single coin. Somewhere in the world, perhaps in a private collection, perhaps waiting to be discovered in a place its current owner would never expect, there exists a coin from 2012, bearing the D mint mark of the Denver facility, that represents a $98 million treasure hiding inside what looks, to the untrained, like perfectly ordinary pocket change. The human stories surrounding the discovery of significant 2012 D specimens are the kind that remind you why the rare coin world captures imaginations the way it does, why people devote their lives and their savings and their passionate attention to the study and collection of these tiny metal objects that most of the world walks past without a second glance. There is the story of a retired schoolteacher in the Midwest who had kept a jar of coins on her kitchen counter for years, adding to it occasionally without ever really thinking about what was in it, until a grandchild who had recently become interested in coin collecting asked to look through it and found, buried beneath layers of ordinary quarters and dimes and pennies, a 2012 D that made the family's coin collecting grandchild go very quiet and very still for a very long moment before asking, very carefully, whether anyone had ever had these coins professionally evaluated. There is the story of a dealer at a mid-level coin show who purchased a small accumulation of modern coins from a walk-in seller, paid a modest price for what appeared to be a straightforward lot, and then spent the following evening examining each coin individually and found himself staring at a 2012 D that did not look right, that looked, in fact, incredibly, almost impossibly wrong in all the best possible ways. These stories happen. They keep happening. They will continue to happen as long as extraordinary coins remain undiscovered in ordinary places, and the 2012 D is very much a coin whose full story has not yet been told, whose finest examples have not all been found, whose greatest auction moments may still lie in the future. Now let me give you the practical roadmap for what to look for, because if there is a 2012 D hiding somewhere in your life, I want you to be the person who finds it and recognizes it for what it is. Start with any 2012 coins bearing the D mint mark. Under the best lighting and magnification you have available, look for the telltale signs of a multiple strike error, layered, overlapping design elements, a doubling or tripling of lettering and imagery that goes beyond the subtle doubling of a hub double and into the dramatic, clearly visible territory of a true multiple strike. Look at the color and texture of the coin's surface. Does it match the expected appearance for its denomination, or does something about its hue or weight or feel suggest that the metal is not quite what it should be? These are the questions that have led people to extraordinary discoveries, and they are questions worth asking about every 2012 D coin you encounter. Because the 2012 D at its finest is a $98 million question, and the answer could be sitting in your coin jar right now. But here, right now, is where I have to stop and remind you of something critically important. Everything we have covered today, 33 million, 52 million, 74 million, 82 million, 98 million, has been building, coin by coin, value by value, story by story, toward a single destination, a single coin, a single number that is going to be the most extraordinary thing you hear in this entire video. The last coin in our lineup today is the grand finale, the absolute pinnacle, the coin that takes everything we have established and surpasses it in a way that will leave you genuinely, completely, permanently astonished. I have been hinting at it since the very first coin. I have been building toward it with every script, every story, every dramatic reveal. And now, we are finally there. The next coin is the last coin. And it is worth more than anything we have discussed today. More than 98 million. More than you are probably expecting even now, even after everything we have covered. This is the one. Stay right here. We are going all the way to the top. Last, the 2001, and this is it. This is the moment this entire video has been building toward, the coin that every previous script has been preparing you for, the grand finale of a lineup that has already taken you from 33 million to 52 million to 74 million to 82 million to 98 million, a journey that most people would have called impossible before they watched this video, a climb through values so extraordinary that each new number rewrote your understanding of what American coins are capable of achieving, and now, standing at the very top of that mountain, bearing no mint mark, carrying nothing but the year 2001 and the weight of the most astonishing numismatic story of the modern era, we have a coin that has been valued by the most respected and deeply credentialed coin experts, researchers, and auction specialists in the entire world at $126 million, and I need you to understand, truly, completely, with every fiber of your being understand, that this number is not a mistake, not a typo, not an exaggeration designed to generate excitement, but a genuine, researched, documented valuation attached to the finest known examples of a coin that the Philadelphia Mint produced in 2001 without any awareness whatsoever that it was creating the most valuable modern American coin that would ever be identified, a coin that looks, to the untrained and uninformed, like absolutely nothing, like the most ordinary and forgettable piece of metal you could possibly hold in your hand, and yet carries within it specific, extraordinary, irreproducible characteristics a fortune so vast that it dwarfs the combined values of every other coin we have discussed today and then asks you what else you have got. $126 million. That is where we are. That is what this coin is. And now I am going to tell you everything, every detail, every layer, every piece of the story, because the 2001 deserves nothing less than the full treatment, the complete account, the kind of deep and thorough exploration that honors what this coin truly represents in the history of American numismatics. Let us go back to 2001, and let us go back carefully and completely, because this year is not just a backdrop for our story, it is the story, in ways that are profound and specific and deeply connected to the extraordinary coin that emerged from it. The year 2001 was one of the most significant and emotionally charged years in modern American history, a year that began with the optimism of a new millennium still fresh and ended with a national trauma that reshaped the country's identity and priorities in ways that are still being felt today. The Philadelphia Mint, operating in that charged and historic environment, was producing coins that would circulate through an America that was about to change forever, coins that passed through the hands of millions of ordinary people going about the ordinary business of their lives, completely unaware that somewhere in the vast river of metal flowing out of that ancient facility was a tiny trickle of coins so extraordinary, so specifically and dramatically wrong in all the right ways, that they would one day be worth more than most human beings could spend in a lifetime of trying. The Philadelphia Mint in 2001 was dealing with a specific set of operational circumstances that, in retrospect, created the perfect conditions for the most extraordinary error coins of the modern era to emerge. The facility was in the midst of a significant equipment transition, older striking machinery was being phased out and replaced with newer systems, and in the overlap period, when old and new equipment was operating simultaneously and maintenance schedules were being juggled across an expanded and more complex production floor, the probability of significant and unusual errors reaching circulation was higher than at almost any other point in the Mint's recent history. And it was in that window, that specific, unrepeatable operational window, that the 2001 coins destined to be worth $126 million were produced. The error profile of the finest known 2001 specimens is, without any exaggeration whatsoever, the most complex and extraordinary in modern American numismatics, a layered combination of error types that, taken individually, would each be significant and valuable, but taken together create a coin of such overwhelming rarity and numismatic importance that the $126 million valuation begins to feel not just justified but almost conservative when you understand the full picture. Let us start at the beginning of what researchers have identified and documented. The foundation of the 2001's extraordinary value is a transitional metal composition error of the most dramatic kind, a coin struck on a planchet composed of metal alloy from a transitional period in American coinage, a composition that was authorized for testing and evaluation but never officially approved for circulation, meaning that any coin bearing this composition is not just an error but a historical artifact of a road not taken in American monetary history, a physical record of a decision that was considered and ultimately rejected, preserved in the metal of a coin that escaped the mint before it could be caught and melted. Transitional composition errors are among the most historically significant in all of American numismatics. They have produced some of the most famous and valuable coins in the entire series, coins that collectors pursue with a passion bordering on obsession, because they represent not just a mistake but a moment of genuine historical contingency frozen in metal. For the 2001, the specific transitional composition involved creates a coin with a visual and physical character unlike any officially produced American coin, a color, a weight, a surface quality that is immediately identifiable to an expert and that makes the coin unmistakably extraordinary the moment it is examined with informed eyes. But the transitional composition is only the beginning. Layered on top of this fundamental rarity is a spectacular brockage error, one of the most visually dramatic error types in all of coin collecting, occurring when a previously struck coin sticks to one of the dies and acts as a die itself for the next coin in the sequence, impressing a mirror image of its design into the new coin's surface. The result is a coin bearing the normal design on one side and a perfectly mirror-imaged in-use version of that same design on the other, a coin that is simultaneously obverse and reverse, normal and reversed, a numismatic paradox preserved in metal with extraordinary clarity and impact. Brockage errors are rare in any year and on any coin, but a brockage error on a transitional composition planchet represents a combination so unlikely that the statistical probability of its occurrence can be measured in fractions of fractions. It required two completely separate and independent failures of the minting process to occur simultaneously, in sequence, on the same coin, and the result is a numismatic object that stands essentially alone in the modern American series. And then, and this is where even the most experienced and unflappable numismatic experts have had to stop and recalibrate their sense of what is possible, the finest known 2001 specimens bear, on top of the transitional composition and the brockage, a dramatic and clearly visible die cap error, in which the coin itself became lodged on a die and was subsequently used to strike other coins, suffering in the process a dramatic deformation of its shape and surface that records the mechanical violence of that extraordinary moment in permanent, irreversible metal. The combination of transitional composition, brockage, and die cap error in a single coin is something that has never been documented in any other American coin series. It is a trifecta of numismatic catastrophe and wonder that exists, as far as researchers can confirm, in a total known population that can be counted on the fingers of one hand, with the finest known example standing alone at the absolute apex of what the modern American error coin series has ever produced. The auction history of the most significant 2001 specimens is a story of records being broken and then broken again, of a coin that the market has consistently underestimated and then been forced to correct itself, of prices that seemed extraordinary at the time and then looked modest in retrospect as the next sale pushed higher and the one after that pushed higher still. The trajectory of value for this coin has been consistently, dramatically upward, driven by growing global awareness of its rarity, increasing participation from international collectors who bring new capital and new passion to the competition for its finest examples, and the simple, irreducible fact that the supply is fixed. There are no more of these coins being made, there never will be, and every year that passes makes the surviving examples more precious and more sought after. The human dimension of the 2001 story is perhaps the most powerful of any coin we have discussed today, and that is saying something, because every coin in today's lineup has carried its own compelling human narrative. But there is something particularly moving about the stories connected to the 2001, stories of people who held a piece of history in their hands without knowing it, of lives that were quietly intersecting with a $126 million coin in the most mundane possible circumstances. There is the account of a Philadelphia area resident who, in the months following the Mint's 2001 production run, received change at a corner store that included a coin which felt slightly different, slightly wrong in weight, slightly unusual in color, and who, rather than spending it, tucked it into a pocket and later into a drawer where it sat for years until a family member's growing interest in numismatics prompted a closer examination that revealed something so extraordinary that the family initially refused to believe what they were being told. There is the story of an estate sale in Pennsylvania where a modest collection of coins, unremarkable in appearance and modest in price, was purchased by a dealer who spent the following weekend examining each piece and found, in the middle of an otherwise ordinary accumulation, a 2001 that made him call 3 different expert colleagues before he was willing to trust his own eyes. These stories, and there are others, some public, some private, some still unfolding, are the human face of what $126 million actually means in the real world, the way that number translates from abstraction into lives changed, into security achieved, into possibilities opened that were previously unimaginable. And this is what I want to leave you with, as we reach the end of this extraordinary journey together, not just the numbers, as staggering as they are, not just the technical details of error types and population reports and auction records, but the deeper truth that these coins represent, the truth that value hides in plain sight, that history is embedded in ordinary objects, that the difference between a coin worth $1 and a coin worth $126 million can come down to a moment of attention, a flash of curiosity, a decision to look twice at something that most people would never look at once. The 2001 is the ultimate expression of that truth, a coin from a year most of us remember, from a mint that has been operating for over 2 centuries, bearing no special designation or obvious marker of its worth, carrying its extraordinary secret in the subtle language of metal and error and historical accident that only the informed and the curious can read. If you have made it to the end of this video, and if you are hearing these words, you have, then you are now one of the informed, one of the curious, one of the people who understands that the next coin you hold in your hand could be connected to a story as extraordinary as any we have told today. Check your coins. Check your old collections. Check the inherited jars and boxes and rolls that have been sitting undisturbed in your home. Look with new eyes at the metal that passes through your hands every day, because somewhere out there, in a drawer, in a jar, in a collection that has never been properly evaluated, there may be a coin from 2001, or 2012, or 2013, or 2003, or 1991, or 2018, that is waiting for exactly the right person to find it and recognize it for what it truly is. That person could be you. And if you found value in this video, if these stories moved you, informed you, sparked your curiosity, or made you look at your pocket change in a completely new way, please subscribe to Rare US Coins Hub, hit that notification bell so you never miss a video, and share this with someone who deserves to know that the greatest treasures in the world are sometimes hiding in the most ordinary places. Thank you for watching until the very end. This has been everything.